In this video, we are going to project the details that we have on our sculpt onto our low poly mesh. But I think before we do that, let's go ahead and give our names more specific naming convention. That way it's easier for us to determine which is the one that we're projecting on our low poly mesh. And yeah, it's going to be a lot easier for us. So let's go ahead and hide our character HP, our character LP, and let's show all of our sculpts for now. And we are going to rename these, give them more specific names. So for this one, it's right now it's called mesh.002. Let's go ahead and give it a better name. I'm going to call it head arms underscore HP for high poly. And now we're also going to be projecting the details for our shirt here. See all these folds? We're going to project it on our low poly mesh. So this one, we could go ahead and call this, right now it's called outfit shirt. I don't like that name. I'm going to call it shirt underscore HP. And then pants, I'm going to call this one pants underscore HP. And the shoe, I think for the shoe here, I don't think we need to project. There's not much details here really. So yeah, I don't think I want to project the details here. But yeah, just in case, let's go ahead and call it shoes HP. I don't have the holster because remember the holster, we just removed it because it's not really detailed at all. So there's no point of projecting anything from there to the low poly mesh. And I wonder, okay, this one is the eyeball. Yeah, let me just go ahead and name it right now. Eyeball. I'm not gonna project anything from here, but so we just made this eyeball there so we could paint it and use it as a reference as we're sculpting, but we're not going to project anything from the eyeball. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and hide all my high poly meshes and rename the character LP here. Similar name to how we named the character HP, except it's just going to have LP instead of HP. So for this one, instead of character LP, I think it's best that we also name it similar to the sculpt. Head arms, yeah, head arms LP. Okay, and then for the pants underscore LP, and then shoes underscore LP. And while we're here, even though these are not going to be named, we're not going to project any details to this, it's still good to keep your stuff organized and rename all of these instead of naming them cube or plane. Instead of leaving like that, it's always good to rename your stuff. Let's go ahead and select all the parts for our holster. And I think the easiest way to do that is just hide the shirt and also the eyeballs and the body and the pants. And let me hide the lights. I'm not selecting any lights. Okay, and we could go ahead and select every part of the holster here. And looks like there's some names that has cube on there and plane. And you know what? Let's go ahead and rename the ones with the convention with the naming cube first. So selecting all of these that has the cube name on there, and let's go to our edit, batch rename, and make sure you have click selected, and then find and replace type. So we're gonna, what this is gonna do is gonna find all of the objects here that has the name cube. So it's gonna find the name cube. So everything here has the word cube on there, the ones that we selected. And then we're going to replace it with, let's call it holster. Yeah, I think these are the buckles, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and replace this holster buckles or buckle. Okay, and so it's going to replace the word cube with holster buckle. And then let's go ahead and press OK. and you see what it has done there. So a fast way to rename stuff. Now we could go to the other ones here, which is the one that begins with plain. And which one is this? Oh, this is just the... Oh, this is the shirt. I thought we have named these already. Well, apparently not. We haven't renamed the shoe. Okay, so let's go ahead and name this also shirt underscore LP. Okay. So let's go ahead and select. I'm going to go hide the shirt. Select the objects here that has the word plain. So those are the ones that's part of the holster. Okay, so you can see selected here. And then let's go edit and batch rename. Selected, find replace, and for find, let's go ahead and call it plain. It's gonna find plain, and then it's gonna replace it with holster buckle, and press OK. And now everything is renamed here. Right. So I'm gonna show everything again, and I'm wondering what. Okay, this one is the eyeball, and the character. Which one is this? Okay, so this one is the tear duct, so I'm gonna go ahead and rename that tear duct underscore LP. A tear duct. I'm gonna call it up. Okay, and then this one is called. So this one is okay. This is the bottom one, so I'm gonna go call this one tear duct bottom LP. And this one is the caruncle. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and rename that. Caruncle underscore LP. And the Bezier curve is which one? I'm going to press down on my numpad. Oh, that's the laces. So let's go ahead and rename that. Laces underscore LP. Alright, great. So everything's renamed on our low poly version. Okay. So it's going to be a lot easier to find things. And also for the character LP here, everything has been renamed. Alright, so now it's time for us to start projecting our details, beginning with the details that we have added for our head and arms. So let's go and turn on our character HP. So make sure that the collection for where you have your sculpt is turned on. So I'm going to turn that on. Okay, and if I turn off my collection for where I have all my low poly version, so remember the sculpted meshes that we have, we're going to project all the details here onto our low poly mesh. And yeah, the first thing we're going to do is going to be projecting the details for our face and our arm area and our hands. We're going to project it onto our low poly version. So let's go ahead and hide the eyeballs HP, hide the pants LP, the shirt LP, and the shoes HP. So yeah, all this HP. I was calling that LP by HP. Alright, and then we could go ahead and show our low poly version for our head arms. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure the character LP is turned on, and yeah. Select our head arms LP. Alright. And we could go ahead and, you know what, we could just hide our head arms. Just make sure that the character HP for the collection where you have all your sculpted mesh, make sure that you actually have the eyeball turned on there. Okay. But all the meshes that you have inside that collection folder, you don't have to have them viewable at all. Okay. So it doesn't have to be seen in the viewport for this to work, for us to project the details from there onto our low poly mesh. To project our details with our low poly mesh selected, let's go to our modifier and let's go add a multi-resolution. And let's go ahead and subdivide this one. I'm going to subdivide this 4 times. The more details you have on your character, on your sculpt, the more subdivision you're able to have so that it will capture those details. I think up to subdivision 4 is good enough. I think subdivision 5, if you crank it to subdivision 5, it's not really going to do much because you don't have details like pores on the skin. You don't have details like like veins at all, which we're going to be doing that later. So right now, since we only have the secondary forms and the basic forms, we could just do up to subdivision 4. Okay, and of course, the details are not there yet. We have to add something called the shrink wrap modifier. Go to add modifier, go to shrink wrap, scroll down. On the shrink wrap, you're going to see target. Go click on the eyedropper for the target. Hover your mouse over the high poly version for where you have your sculpted mesh that you want to project those details onto the low poly mesh. So we called it head arms HP for high poly. So just click on that and just wait for a bit. It might take some time. All right, and you can see it had projected the details from our high poly mesh onto our low poly mesh using the shrink wrap modifier by using the target here. Now, there's a little bit of issue here. If you zoom in to your character, you can see that there's issues on the eyes where it looks like there's spikes on there. And also, inside the nose area, inside the mouth area, we see some geometry just overlapping everywhere. So basically, the areas where we have cavities is giving us issues. Okay, so we're gonna make sure that to fix that, we're gonna use a vertex group where we're going to tell the shrink wrap modifier here to only project the details around the forehead, the face. We're gonna project the details on everything except for the eye cavity area and the nose cavity and on inside the mouth. Okay, so we're gonna have to let shrink wrap know that, and in order to do that, we have to create a vertex group that we're gonna be plugging in onto this vertex group area. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove our shrink wrap modifier for now. Okay, so good. All right, now select our low poly mesh. Let's go to our data area here, and then you're gonna see the vertex group. Go ahead and click on the plus sign to create a brand new vertex group. And with our low poly mesh selected here, let's just go ahead and Shift H to isolate that. Hit the tab key. And we are going to put all of the meshes that we don't want to be affected by the shrink wrap modifier. So the cavities, like a little bit of eyelids and the cavity inside, we are going to put them in a vertex group. And also the mouth area, the insides of the mouth area, and maybe a little bit of the lips, the border of the lips. So we know we're not going to get spikes there. And also the nose, the inside of the nose here, we're going to put it in a vertex group, okay? So when we're projecting our details, since we don't have details inside the nose anyways, and there's no details inside the eyes, no details inside the mouth cavity, we don't need to project anything there. So let's go ahead and select. Press down your numpad to zoom in. So we could go first. Select our edges here. So we could get a little bit of the edges here on the eyelids, but you don't want to go too far. But I'm just doing that so that 100% sure we're not going to get any spikes sticking out of the eyes. And also here and here. And then let's go to select loops, edge ring. All right, so select all around, and then go to vertex and then face. All right, so we have those selected. All right, exactly what we need. Okay, and with those selected, we could put it in a vertex group. So with our group here selected, let's go click on assign. So now we go and click off in the background, and then we click on select. You see that indeed this group have added all the polygons that we have selected in there. Okay, and let's go ahead and click off. And we have to also add the, remember we have, okay, we don't have any cavity inside. Yeah, a good thing we don't have to do all that work. Okay, so yeah, we only needed to add the, if you created like cavity inside, extruded all the way through, just make sure that anything here around this area, and if you extruded more for the eye area here, make sure you put all those polygons in the vertex group, okay? So that's all that we need for this. And then for this one here, let's zoom into the nose. We have to select all of the polygons that's inside here and put them in the vertex group. Okay, so let's go ahead and press C as in cat on your keyboard. Select everything in here. Paint select. And then hit escape on your keyboard to escape the paint selection tool. And let's go ahead and zoom into this one here. Find a good view. Press C. And go ahead and select. Hit escape on your keyboard. Alright, if you press Shift Z, make sure you only have those selected. The nose cavity. And let's go ahead and add that in the group here. Click on Assign right here. Click off. And now we gotta do the mouth area. So what I like to do is I like to select the edge here and edge here. And then go to select ring, edge ring, go to vertex and then face. So it's very important to do this so that we know this is not gonna be included in the projection, so we're not gonna get any spikes for sure on the lips. So I'm gonna click on Assign. And then we also, remember, if you press Shift Z, you see how there's a cavity geometry inside. Those have to be inside the vertex group also. So let's go, click here, side view. To easily select that, let's go ahead and select the polygons at the back of the head and all of these here on the neck. Press H on your keyboard to hide it temporarily. Shift Z on your keyboard. Let's go to edge. And we could go ahead and select the edge. The edges. Select the edge here. All the way up to over in this area. Here. And not sure if this is gonna do us any good. We select here, here, and here. Yeah, I think it's not gonna. We see we're gonna do a select edge ring, but since we have a triangle, that's not gonna work. So I think we could just do it up to here, and then we could manually select the rest. Okay, so we could go ahead and select loops, edge ring, vertex, and then face. So you could see. If I press Shift Z, everything inside the mouth cavity is selected except for this part right here, which we're gonna do if we just go ahead and zoom in inside the mouth. Okay, press dot on your numpad to make it easier for you to zoom in, and just slowly zoom in like this. Yeah, so make sure that you are not seeing orange. Make sure you zoom in all the way through until you no longer see any light orange. Press C on your keyboard and then just go and start painting. Hit escape on your keyboard and then just kind of navigate slowly to the right to get the rest of it. Press C and select. Hit escape on your keyboard. Shift Z to double check. Make sure you're only selecting what you're supposed to select. Okay. And then let's go and assign those onto the group. Okay, great. Click off. Now let's go and show all the polygons again that we have hidden. Alt H. Click off. Make sure you click off. Nothing selected. Now we got to double check that everything that we don't want to project, right? Like nose cavity, mouth cavity, and some of the parts of the eyes here are inside that group. So to double check, just go ahead and click on the select button right there. So let's go and click select and you press Shift Z. So you can see indeed that all of these polygons, we don't want those to be projected. We don't want any details to be projected on those polygons, okay? And what we need to do is we need to Control I on our keyboard. So that inverts the selection. So now we have all the faces that we want the details to be projected on selected. And we have to create a group for that, okay? So let's go ahead and click on the plus sign right here on the vertex group to create a brand new group. And let's go ahead and rename that. Let's call it no cavity. And then all these polygons that we have selected here, we're going to put it inside that new group that we just made. So click on assign. All right. And this is actually this new group that we have made with all these polygons selected is the one that we're going to link onto the shrink wrap modifier, okay? Okay, so let's just double check. If we go to our no cavity group and click on select, make sure that it's actually selecting not the cavities, not the inside of the mouth or nose or the inside of the eyes, but actually the area where we're going to project the details. Make sure that's the one that's selected. All right, so yeah, everything is good for the no cavity. That's the one that we're going to be linking. So let's go ahead and go back to object mode, select our character, go to our modifier here, and then let's add our shrink wrap modifier there. Okay, and then onto our target again, click on the eyedropper, and then sample our head arms LP right here, and just wait for a bit. Okay, now if we zoom into the eyes, of course we still have that issue, all right, because we have not linked our group to the shrink wrap modifier yet. But I want you to look at this. If you go ahead and go to your shrink wrap modifier here and onto the vertex group area, all right, vertex group, click on there, and then you're gonna find the group that you have made, no cavity. So I'm gonna click on there and watch what happens on your eyes. Just wait for a bit. Okay, so now everything is perfect. We have no more issues there with spikes. And we look at the nose. Everything's good for the nose. We look inside the mouth area. Everything is good for the mouth. Yeah, so everything is good for this one. And yeah, once you are happy with that, we can go to our shrink wrap modifier and then just go ahead and apply it. Click on the drop down arrow and hit apply. Make sure you do this before you start sculpting, because if you just start going to your sculpting and adjusting sculpting and just start adding some extra details here, and then this detail that you have just projected is going to disappear. Okay, so let's just go ahead and hit apply to the shrink wrap to make it permanent already, so the details will be kept there. Yeah, that's very important, because if you don't apply your shrink wrap modifier and then you remove your high poly versions, your high poly sculpt, then you're going to lose those details. All right, very important to do that. Right, and that's it for our projection for our head and our arms. You can see, so our low poly version now has the details from our high poly sculpt. And if you are happy with it, you could already delete your sculpted mesh for your head, but just make sure you have a backup copy of your file just in case you want to go back to it. All right,